Aguas Calientes. El Chan, or the first El Chan. I'll get more into that later on in the video, because, I mean, as you guessed by that, then there's more, but this specific one is in Aguas Calientes, Mexico. On the banks of the San Pedro River, it is said that the riverbed formed a puddle known as the Bell Ringer. In this area, during the colonial era, the French and Mexican soldiers used to bathe their horses. Being calmer waters, they were perfect to bathe the horses. And some of the locals also took the opportunity to bathe in the puddle, as well as to extract water for their needs, so I assume drinking and like farming, etc. It is said that a young woman went to bathe, and the Chan stalked her from the depths of the puddle. He was described as a reptilian man, 1.5 meters tall, covered in green scales, and with great strength. The young women who were touched by El Chan and managed to escape would eventually become pregnant with, I guess, another Chan, and eventually give birth to them. That's pretty much all there is to know about the first El Chan. There is at least 2 other creatures with the name El Chan, but are described differently, and I will get into those later on in the video. And yeah, on to the next one. Baja California. The Black Demon Shark, or El Demonio Negro. It is said to be an enormous black shark whose territory is said to be just off the coast of Mexico's Baja California Peninsula. And in recent years, numerous sightings have been reported, primarily by local fishermen. The Black Demon is said to be between 20 to 60 feet long and weigh between 50 to 100,000 pounds. It is said to resemble a great white shark, but with very dark coloration and a large tail. The mysterious shark was supposedly first spotted in 2008. Some people think it's a megalodon, or a new species of shark. Others just think it's an unusually large and dark great white shark. Baja California Sur. Mermaids. At least, I think. There's a question mark on it when I wrote this down. But it's because this refers to a mysterious carcass that washed up on the rocks of Cerralvo Island near the coast of Baja California Sur. The fishermen who filmed the footage of the creature can be heard saying, "This animal is a devil or a mermaid. Who knows which one? It has a tail, hair, a mouth like a human, but 2 horns. This is a rare animal." In the background of the video, one of his colleagues insists that the animal was a half-human, half-fish creature, not unlike a mermaid. Anyways, here's the video.
Este animal es el diablo o la sirena, no sé qué será. Tiene cola, tiene pelo, tiene boca como la gente y 2 cuernos. Tiene oreja. Tiene oreja, cuerno. Un animal raro, quién sabe qué será.
I think this was in 2016. I'm not sure. Some people say it could be an alien, but I don't know. It's too low quality for me to actually tell. Also, it does look very similar to the Hoga, which is later in the video. So yeah, I guess like foreshadowing? I don't know. Campeche. El Canocol. The legend has it that El Canocol was a daw charged with protecting crops against thieves lurking around. But it wasn't a common daw. When night came, it would take strength and wander the whole area. If anyone approached, it was stoned by the Canocol, punishing the intruder or the thief. The Canocol was made with beeswax and was coated with cob leaves. The eyes were beans, and the teeth were corn, and the nails were white beans. Through a ritual performed by a sorcerer, the daw was conjured up with the blood of the plantation owner, so that he could obey him, and only him. As a weapon, the owner would give the daw a stone on his right hand, and I would assume that's what he used to throw at thieves or just people trespassing on the land. So the way the daw would know that it was the owner coming The owner would, before entering, whistle 3 times, which they both agreed on. I guess there's some sort of conscious. El Kanan call. So during the day, after the agreed sign, the farmer whistling 3 times, he would approach the doll and take the stone from his hand. And he worked the amount of time he worked, day, night, and then when he was done, he would eventually put the stone back in the hand of El Kanan call. And when he went out, he whistled again. And I guess when it was night, or when the farmer would leave the land, he would whistle again, and that would activate the kanokol, and which he would just travel the farm, or not travel, protect the farm. And yeah, I'm not sure if this counts as a cryptid, but I feel like it does. So yeah, if you don't think it doesn't, just let me know. Chiapas, El Cadejo. There is a legend that is told throughout Central America and South Mexico. There's a good white Cadejo and an evil black Cadejo. Both are spirits that appear at night to travelers. The white to protect them from harm during their journey, and the black, sometimes as an incarnation of the devil, to kill them. The colors of the Cadejo are sometimes exchanged according to a local tradition, I guess depending on where you are. In some places, the black Cadejo could be seen as good one, while the white Cadejo is the evil one. They usually appear in the form of a large, up to the size of a cow, shaggy dog with burning red eyes and goat hooves. Although in some areas, they have more bull-like characteristics. According to the stories, many have tried to kill the black Cadejo, but have failed and perished. Also, it is said that if a Cadejo is killed, it will smell terrible for several days, and then the body will disappear without a trace. So yeah, if you ever see a giant shaggy dog with red eyes and hooves, just be careful, I guess, because it could either be evil or good depending on the color, or not really. I just be careful in general, because I mean sometimes they're the same. I just be careful in general if you ever see a dog with the same characteristics as El Cadejo, whether they're black or white. Yeah. Chihuahua Mothman. In 2009, in the city of La Junta, Chihuahua, a young man was returning home from his studies along a very infrequently traveled road. The date was March 6, 2009. He came across something hunched over in the middle of the road. When the man's jeep got closer to the hunched over figure, it stood up, and what he saw was similar to the sightings in Nuevo Leon just a few years before it. It was a being standing upright, black, covered in fur, with a face similar to a human's, and with wings. According to the eyewitness, the creature had 2 sets of wings, and also red eyes. When it started to leap forward to the jeep, the young man sped up his car, and for 15 minutes, the creature flew next to him, looking into the passenger window. The story made it to the newspaper, El Heraldo de Chihuahua, and much like what happened in its neighboring state a few years before, once the story hit the mainstream media, other people started coming forward with stories of their sightings. Coahuila Chupacabra. There were 2 events in Coahuila, Mexico, one in 2010 and one in 2011. According to the Diario Vanguardia newspaper, a mysterious animal slaughter took place at Rancho Buena Fe, east of Parras, Coahuila. The property owner said that her animals turned up either dead or dying, all of them displaying puncture marks on their neck. A total of 8 sheep, 7 mature goats, and a young goat were found dead. According to her statement, she heard no sounds whatsoever, her guard dogs never barked, and the intruder's prints were never found. She added that the same thing happened the previous month, and that motivated a change of pens. She placed the animals closer to her house, but even that did not prevent the loss of her animals. It should be noted that in Sabinas, another locality in the state of Coahuila, the presence of wildlife has been reported in collective farming properties, and in the outskirts of the city, black bears and pumas have been mentioned. However, bears and pumas do not kill their prey by puncturing their necks, and again, this one was in 2011. Then in 2010, a year prior, several witnesses claimed seeing a 4-armed/legged creature with gray skin. Was it a chupacabra? I'm not too sure, but I mean, it did kill some cabras, so. Colima. Alcuis. The alcuis is a dreadful dog-like animal or I guess creature, who terrorized the inhabitants of Colima, causing death to anyone who entered his forest. This is a creature that lives in the forests and mountains of Colima, taking care of its territory. In the past, when nighttime hits, it would have gone to nearby villages to torment the inhabitants. If anyone encounters it at night, it is said that they will be found dead or just never to be seen again. The story also points out that the wild dog was so heinous it caused an unknown disease, causing people to suffer from heat and vomiting. All this by just walking close to the houses. This changed when the inhabitants of the town decided to hunt it down. The Alquis managed to escape, but has decided to stay away from anywhere there is humans, and now only harms people, causing harm to forests/mountains. Durango. This cryptid doesn't really have a name, and from what I could find online, it's commonly referred to as the strange creatures of the mountains of Durango. So yeah, I guess that's the name. I don't know. These are actually more of a recent phenomenon that started around late 2023. From what I could tell, it was from September to December 2023. They were described as canine entities with sharp teeth, antlers, and hooves that are like goats or deers. Some were on 4 legs, and I'm pretty sure the ones that had 4 legs had hooves on all 4. But some were bipedal, and only the back 2 were hooves, while the other 2 were dog hands. Residents close by to where these sightings happened claimed that they saw the creatures emerge from the forests and heard disturbing roars that resonated from the mountains as they approached the towns and ranches. The cattle would become the main target, and several guard dogs faced the creatures in an attempt to protect the territory or protect the cattle. However, in these first attacks, the dogs were quickly defeated, and it claims, or what I saw claimed, that they were devoured, but I don't know. I hope not, but I mean, yeah. There's a video on Facebook that shows photos of these creatures, and I will play a small part of it here in a bit, but towards the end of this segment. After they were done attacking cattle/farmland, apparently these creatures tried to invade a mine cave/stations. Not too sure, but the miners/workers had rifles and shot at them. A guy named Antonio Ramirez, who was mining when they were attacked, had an interview talking about the experience. He said that there was around 20 of them that attacked the place. Apparently another guy separated from them and was camping out nearby and saw the commotion happening, and he either helped them or was also attacked, and he managed to kill 6 of them. Yeah, I can't play that interview because we will get copyright stricken, because it's an interview from a news station, and they're the main people that copyright us. Yeah. Anyways, many people think that these are Nahuals, which are later on in the video, but I mean, they do sound kind of similar to Chupacabras. So yeah, a little bit of a cop-out entry, but I mean, it was a thing that happened, and they don't really have a name. So yeah.
¿Y conoces esos animales, mi Toño? Tienen las manos como de un perro, igual como estar viendo las manos de un perro, con uñas, y las patas de chivo, o igual de venado, las patas de casquito de venado o de casquito de chivo. Y otros tienen las 4, las patas y las manos de chivo, y otros tienen las patas de casquito de burro y las manos de perro, la pura pezuña de abajo de perro y las patas de pezuña de burro, y la carilla, la cabecilla la tienen como de una hiena. Lo raro está que la panza por dentro, las tripas y todo eso están peludas, están puro pelo por dentro de la panza. Las tripas tiene tripas y todo, ¿verdad? Pero están peludas, y se comen a los perros. Atacaron un ranchito y se comieron los perros se le echaron encima. No, ni a pipián le supieron, se los chingaron. Eran varios.
Guanajuato. El Chan 2, the Hoga, and El Chan 3. So yeah, 3-for-1 special, kinda. So, in the village of Apaseo El Alto, in the Mexican state of Guanajuato, there are several large springs in the area known as the Cañada, not Canada, Cañada, it has the Ñ on the end. Of these bodies of water, there is one particularly abundant one. It has crystal clear waters, and where in the pre-Hispanic era, offerings were made to the multiple gods of the native people of Mexico. In the late 19th century, a group of adventurers looking to explore the cave disappeared without leaving any trace. It was said that the cave was infinite, that the rivers pulled that one foolish enough to try to swim in them, and that the disappearances were due to a mysterious being that devoured humans. The identity of the beast, which has been come to known as El Chan, varies depending on whoever tells it. A gigantic fish, a sea demon, a satyr-like being, a monstrous fish with pork features, a snake. All of those assumptions were given by those who had allegedly seen the Chan, but the truth was that no one had actually seen him up close. The only real relation to the first Chan is the name. There's also a fourth Chan. No way, 4chan managed to sneak his way to the video. In Tamaulipas. But we already have something else for that. So I'm just putting it out there that there is a quote-unquote fourth Chan. The second Chan, or slash Hoga, which I'm not even sure if they're the same, but the description is very similar, other than where it is said that they reside in. It is said that it was a fish with the head of a pig, the body of a snake, and feathers instead of scales. This Chan had more natural or esoteric characteristics, since it was said that he was a protector of the springs and punished those who polluted the waters, or those who committed immoral acts. It is also said that it could change shape, since some people say that they have seen a being with the head of a goat and legs in a form of an octopus, tentacles, or some very aggressive water dog. So yeah, there's just like a creature that lives in the water in this area. It's either multiple different creatures or one creature that could just change shape. So yeah. Guerrero, El Gusano de Oro, or the Golden Worm. So there was a guy named Otoniel. He was a peasant who planted corn, pumpkins, and beans, and he took care of cattle and goats. And then one day he was just, working on the fields, plowing the land, and he saw something shining in the ground, and it was a pure gold worm, about 30 centimeters long. But this worm was alive, and he walked, crawling on the ground. And when the peasant, or Otoniel, took it in his hands, he heard a voice in his head, and it said, "Let's make a deal. If you take me home and treat me well, feeding me what I ask, then I, in gratitude, am going to go to the bathroom, but instead of pooping out excrement, it will be pure gold coins." So the farmer accepted the deal and took the worm home, and pretty much just gave the worm everything he asked him to eat. And in retribution, the worm would poop out gold coins. And yeah, that's pretty much the story. After a while, the peasant ended up getting rich, and this just, made his brother jealous. His brother was named Alexander, who was a drunk farmer, and he made him confess to what the source of his fortune was. And because of his jealousy or ambition, Alexander took the worm from his brother. And when Alexander seized the worm, to his surprise, the animal didn't place any gold coins, and instead it became a bejuco, which is a plant. And instead of gold coins, it was surrounded by rocks. Then the legend has it that the golden worm only appears to noble people to help them out. And yeah, I don't know if you guys consider this a cryptid, but it is like a creature, so yeah, cut me some slack here. Hidalgo, Duendes. Yeah, no Mexican cryptid video would be complete without Duendes. Duendes are elf-like creatures that live inside the walls of houses, especially in the bedrooms of small children. They attempt to cut the nails of scruffy children, sometimes mistakenly leading to the complete removal of the fingers. They have many different names to them: aluxes, chaneques, etc. And honestly, duende lore is kinda everywhere. They can either be really good to people and their homes, helping them take care of chores and protecting the people living in the home, and other times they are said to be evil spirits that try and harm the inhabitants. Either way, they do like to play pranks on the people living in the house, like taking their keys and hiding them. There's also a museum of Duendes I've never been to, but it's probably more of a touristy thing, if anything. Jalisco. El Chavarin de Ameca. In the villages of Ameca, Jalisco, there is a popular legend that tells the story of Chavarin. The story starts off in the 19th century. There was a drought, and despite the peasants begging God to make it rain, not a single drop of water fell. So the lack of food caused the lack of work, therefore famine and poverty. But one day, a guy and his wife were speaking in the kitchen. The woman told him that the children were hungry and that there was no food to give them, and the man replied that he could do nothing about it. So the dad, who would later be known as the Chavarin, made a deal with the devil to save his family. One night, the man went out into the courtyard and began to invoke for the devil. Is that what happens? Is it invoke to the devil? Or invoke for the devil? I don't know, sorry. He was like serious about it while doing it. And when he finally, I guess when he was done with it, and he ended it with the word Satan appeared and offered him a lot of money in exchange for his soul. And obviously the guy accepted, because I mean that's what he was trying to do. And he received a lot of money for it. So after that, the man, he was changed on the inside. He became more selfish and unempathetic. He even left his family and went to live alone in the river, and ended up accompanied by only the bags of money and a snake. The wife of the now Chavarin was worried for him, so she told a priest about the situation. Afterwards, they both decided to look for the man at his house, and when he saw them arrive, he took his money and ventured into the river. From that day on, no one saw the Chavarin again, or at least not as a human being. And the people of Ameca tell their children to not approach the river because in the river inhabits a half-human, half-monster, and half-snake that drowns them in the water. The creature is known as the Chavarin. So yeah, would you guys count this as a cryptid? I feel like it is. I mean, it has a legend to it, similar to El Gusano de Oro legend. He became a creature, so I feel like he could be categorized as a cryptid. There's something I really want to say, but I'll probably save that for the end of the video. Mexico. Not Mexico the country, but Mexico the state. Same name. Yes, yeah. This century was like the hardest to research compared to every other Mexican state. Just because when you search up Mexico cryptids in English or in Spanish, it always just comes up with the whole country as a whole. But I did come to find out that the state is also referred to as Edo Mexico. Yeah, I still found something. Hopefully I could say it right. But, yeah. Cuahutepochtle. Seen around the volcanoes of Popocatépetl? Again, hopefully I said that right. It is said that people who work in the woods / take a walk in the woods will encounter them. At their biggest, they are around 26.62 inches tall, or 60 centimeters. And sometimes they are even smaller. They have the body of a rooster and human-like feet, but the feet are rotated in like 180 degrees. So when walking, it looks like if a human was walking, they'd be walking the opposite way. If I explain that right. They also have a hat made of feathers and red boots. They have a good sense of humor and like to play pranks on people. Sometimes if someone asks them for help, they will try and help them, but only if they're good to the forest. The people who are bad and do terrible things to the forest, they sometimes turn those people into trees, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, be good to nature. Michoacán. The Itzcuintlipotzotli. They are bizarre canine creatures reported by the Michoacán people of Mexico. They're commonly described as a large hairless dog with a short tail and a pronounced hump on its back. In 1780, Francisco Javier Clavijero, a Mexican priest, published Ancient History of Mexico, where he described an Itzcuintlipotzotli in the region of Tarascan, Michoacán. It's a grotesque animal-like dog, the size of a terrier with a short tail, a small wolf-like head, almost no neck, a strange bulbous nose, and nearly hairless skin. Most extraordinarily, a pronounced hump extending from the spine to the legs. Miss Calderon de la Barca, in 1843, said she saw a dead specimen of this cryptid in the valley of Mexico City. The thing was apparently raised by his owners. He got too dangerous, so he ended up having to be put down. And I mean, it's also considered to be one of the ugliest, mysterious creatures of the world, if it's real. And it's kind of messed up because, from what I understand of researching the cryptid, is that it's considered a cryptid because it's just so ugly. If that's the case, my wife is one too. I actually don't have a wife. Morelos. Black crawler. If you couldn't tell, this video / research for this video is pretty hard. The only real talk about cryptid I could find in Morelos was a podcast that was interviewing someone, and he was talking about his experience with a creature that I myself am calling a black crawler. So I guess I'll just translate / summarize his retelling of a person telling him the local legend. When he was approximately 8 years old in Morelos, there was a very famous place to go swimming called Las Huertas. Above Las Huertas, there is a spring of another hole of water. Is that the word? Hole of water? I doubt it. But you can only really get to it if you go with like a Jeep or just like an off-road vehicle. In the podcast, they say a Jeep or a 4x4 vehicle, but I assume any vehicle capable of off-roading or to get there by foot. In the case of the guy telling the story, his dad had a Jeep, so they used a Jeep to get there. When they got to the place, the guy retelling the story said it was a very peaceful place because, I mean, it's really hard to get to and there's not many people there. But there was a guy, but there was a town, and they went into town. And then a man came up to them. The man spoke with them and their father, more specifically their father. He told them to be careful if they're camping out in the area because people have said that a kind of a dog with 2 legs, very thin and very black skin, appeared. Then many people in the area had seen it, and because of that, many people didn't stay in the place because of the appearance of this being / cryptid. That's pretty much the local legend. He does talk in the interview or / podcast about his own experience with witnessing the creature as well. If you guys would like me to retell that, but in English. Nayarit Ruffed Cat, or the Mexican Ruffed Cat. Locals from the Sierra Mountains in the Mexican state of Nayarit have reported that the region has a native medium-sized wild feline that does not look like a cougar, a jaguar, or the jaguarundi. This cat is called the Mexican Ruffed Cat in the cryptid world, or sometimes just the Ruffed Cat. It is described as being about 7 feet long, has a short tail, and a conspicuous mane that hides its ears. It's brown, not tan like a cougar, and has wavy stripes on its side and the upper parts of its legs. It is striped in light brown and dark brown, not in black stripes. 2 skins were obtained by cryptozoologists, but these skins were accidentally destroyed. I say accidentally with quotation marks. By the government of Belize before zoologists could examine them. Most of what is known about these cats are based on descriptions of these 2 skins. Some researchers working in cryptozoology think that the Mexican Ruffed Cat could represent surviving populations of saber-toothed cats, and this creature is lumped together with its cousins farther south since the pattern of striping, dark and light brown, resembles that found in domestic tabbies. Some people have suggested that the Mexican Ruffed Cat is just a large house cat. Nuevo León. Hombre pájaro de Monterrey. Also known as the Hombre Polilla, which just translates to Mothman. This is a mysterious creature that has been seen by hundreds of people in the northeast of Mexico during recent years. Yeah, this was one of the easier things I knew about Mexican cryptids because we did this for the second part of the Mexico iceberg. But yeah, a Redditor talking about Mexican aliens / UFOs had the name of this cryptid on there, and that's pretty much how I found it. And when I searched around, it's apparently dated back to at least 1877 in the municipality of Marin, where it is said that they saw him fly over the church. So here's a video of the supposed Hombre Polilla / Mothman / Birdman. Oaxaca. Rod of Oaxaca. there's not much to this cryptid, to be honest. I don't even know if I should call it a cryptid, but that's all I could find for Oaxaca. And there's a video of a thing that is shaped like a rod that passes by a person capturing the video at like exceptional speed. However, I hope this doesn't copyright us, but I mean, here's the video. Puebla, Cuatlacas. It's one of the Bigfoots from Mexico. The name Cuatlacas possibly comes from the old Totonac dialect and loosely translates to / means forest guardian. The word made it into Nahual, or the Aztec Empire's language, and then into the local Spanish usage after the conquest. The Cuatlacas is rarely known outside of the modern Mexican state of Puebla. However, very few Mexicans have ever heard of the creature. With just like better technology that we have nowadays, sightings of this creature have been increasing as of late. The Cuatlacas have been described similar to the North American Bigfoot or the Yeti of Central Asia, between 7 to 9 feet tall, weighing at around 500 to 600 pounds, covered in dark matted hair with somewhat human-like facial features. I don't think they have big feet, but they might have big feet, so yeah. Local legends say that the creature is the custodian of the forest and dislikes human interference in its habitat, so it is best advised to stay away and let the creature be. No one knows if it has like a way to communicate besides like very distinctive grunts and howls, and usually vocalizes displeasure when humans are around. It has also been known to be violent in the case of Hector Lopez and his destroyed truck. In 2011, Hector Lopez and 2 friends went deep into a remote protected forest to cut wood illegally. They chose a site because it was far away from humans and just off an old forest road. As they prepare to work, strange animal sounds emerge from just like the nearby woods, and grunts and howls, and I assume like just very scary loud noises. That sounds weird, but yeah, I'll go with it. They were unfazed. I would be phased, but yeah, they ignored the noises and started their chainsaws and started cutting down trees. They cut down around a dozen trees, and the sounds grew louder, like the grunts and howls. And while nighttime was approaching, they lit a bonfire to rest before loading their truck and returning to the city. But as the bonfire crackled, they noticed movement in the surrounding trees, accompanying with eerie noises that got just closer. And suddenly, a Cuatlacas emerged from the shadows. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, it resembled a human, but was entirely covered in thick, tangled, dark fur. The creature moved at them, grabbing one of the freshly cut trees, and headed towards the truck. One of the men panicked and fired a shot at it, and the Cuatlacas was unfazed by it and continued to approach the truck. They were terrified, the 3 men, and they just ran away. Eventually, they stumbled upon forest rangers and recounted their encounter. The rangers were skeptical but agreed to investigate the site, and when they arrived, the creature was gone, but the truck was completely destroyed. And the ranger suggested to the men that what they have encountered was the Cuatlacas. So yeah, that's the encounter. I will link in the description the YouTube channel that I got a decent amount. I say decent, but it's like 3 or 4 of these entries. I kind of have to shout them out because I did get it from them, but from what I could see on their channel is that they use a lot of AI. So Queretaro, Nahual, or Nahual, whichever you prefer. It's kind of a witch / supernatural creature in Mesoamerican beliefs. It is a being that can take shape of animals, typically a human that can take the form of an animal, or humans' animal alter ego. It is said that we all have this animal alter ego with us our whole lives. I assume the people who are witches in this context are able to use their alter ego's form. Nahuales are a thing all throughout Mesoamerica, and not just one tribe. Such as in the Maya culture, the concept of Nahual is under the word chulel, and the word is understood as spirit. And basically, it just refers to a person / witch that can transform into an animal / their spirit animal. The Nahual is also really common in stories told in Mexico, especially from like older family members, and they want to tell you a scary story. Also, a Nahual is very similar to a skinwalker, which were common in western Indian tribes. So around Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, right above Mesoamerica, and just an interesting connection. These are also in Queretaro. I say that, but I mean, these are seen all throughout Mexico, or claimed to be seen, and there's literally nothing else that I could find in Queretaro. So, that, or at least any of them that I haven't already covered in the video. Quintana Roo, Sisimite, a Central American Sasquatch, is the best way to describe this cryptid. That being said, the many other variants of the creatures across the world, this Sasquatch has its own quirks as well. The word Sisimite, coming from the Nahualt legend, and loosely translates to demon / supernatural creature. The legend of this cryptid goes back to as far before Europeans came to the Americas, with there even being a Mayan carving in Belize said to show a Sisimite. Also, supposedly Duendes are its cousins, which is, I mean, really weird. There are stories of the creature stealing women from villages and killing any man that meet its gaze. Strangely enough, there's also tellings of the creature stealing children in order to learn how to speak. Not just that, supposedly when hunters leave campfires, it is said to have been seen at those campfires relaxing, and sometimes failed campfires are found in the jungles attributed to the Sisimite. One famous encounter with this creature was that it had captured North American attention. It happened in 1998 by a Canadian man known as Buckskin Joe, in which the creature crawled into its tent and awoke Joe, who scared it off and shot at it as it ran away. The Sisimite is described as bigger than any man and hairier as well, looking like a cross between a gorilla and a man with thick brown and matted hair. Another feature of the Sisimite is its lack of thumbs, only having 4 fingers, and the ability to turn its feet backwards in order to trick travelers to make them lose its track of the creature. Which, okay, so I will say Omar wrote this entry. Yeah, I'm cheating. He did this for the Mexican iceberg, or Mexico iceberg. But earlier in the video, I did talk about a duende-like creature that has backward feet, which now I see the connection. Which I want to bring this up to Omar next time we have a dual video. What was it? It was after the Chan. My bad. I'm looking through the script right now. Yes, I have a script. I have to write these down, or else I won't remember. What was it? Oh, the cuahutepochtle, which is like quote unquote duendes. Which, oh my god, sorry, you guys, if Omar is listening to this in the video, he's not listening to me right now, but if he is, I will bring this up in another video, which is, sorry, I'm kind of excited, because when I read that, cousins of duendes, I was like, why would they be cousins of duendes? These are tall, duendes are short. But then when I read that, his feet are backwards, I just got the connection. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Omar mentioned that in the video that he previously mentioned this in, but I guess I couldn't remember. And yeah, crazy connection. Sorry sorry about this. San Luis Potosi. Giants are commonly used for monsters of human appearance, but are huge in size with enormous strength. Giants are commonly seen in many different cultures around the world. The word giant is derived from gigantes, a Greek word, or of Greek mythology, I think both. So yeah. Giants are mentioned all over Huasteca, which is a geographical and cultural region located along the Gulf of Mexico, and including parts of the states of Tamaulipas, Veracruz, Puebla, Hidalgo, San Luis Potosi, Queretaro, and Guanajuato. It is roughly defined as an area in which the Huastec people had influence when their civilization was at its height during the Mesoamerican period. Also, everything else on the states I just mentioned already had a cryptid I could find, so San Luis Potosi gets the honor of hosting giants as the cryptid that is in their region. So I got this entry, I guess, or giants, off of another YouTube video, which is from the same YouTuber I mentioned earlier. And he claims that a woman recounted her experience when she was with her husband and son playing. They heard a loud noise similar to an explosion that seemed to come from a nearby hill. Initially, they thought it was a landslide. However, what they saw coming was completely different. The woman's name was Antonia, and she described that at a distance, she saw a large, thin man, described to be as a giant, about 10 meters tall. All this occurred around 5 in the afternoon. During the same wave of sightings, a young indigenous woman also claimed to have seen something large, immense, seeming to be a giant walking in the distance on a mountain. And these stories just coincided with the testimonies of the inhabitants of Ejido, Ojo de Agua, and nearby towns in the municipality of Ciudad Valles in the Huastec region of San Luis Potosi. The sightings generated fear and uncertainty. The news spread quickly, and supposed photographs of the creatures, which have generated a lot of debate. Some have dismissed the sightings of these giants as frauds or simple confusions of the witnesses. Others suggest that within the area there are hidden giants and ancient stories rarely shared outside the indigenous ethnic groups. There are stories about an ancient race of hairy giants which had 3 legs and were known as Lindsay. The Tenec people of San Luis Potosi say that many years ago, when God created men, the universe and nature also gave life to the Pacan, gigantic creatures that inhabited the lands. The Pacan had a large offspring, including the Lindsay, giants almost as big as them. The Lindsay had 2 arms and 3 feet, and their body was completely covered in hair. They were robust and they lacked teeth because they did not need them for feeding on the essence of raw foods. They satisfied their hunger with the aroma of fresh corn grains and the perfume of flowers, which gave them exceptionally developed sense of smell. Their most distinctive feature was how passive they were. They didn't like to have conflict or confrontations with their neighbors or just anything else in the area. Sinaloa. Black-eyed kids. I'll be honest, while researching, all I could find for Sinaloa was a werewolf type creature. So I bought a book that talks about cryptids from Mexico to find one that we haven't already talked about for Sinaloa. The book I got is named Mexican Monsters, The Cryptids and Legendary Creatures of Mexico by Robert Pito. So yeah, I have mentioned it a lot before, but black-eyed kids are my favorite cryptid, at least so far. They have been for probably like over a decade. These were originally sighted in 1996 in Abilene, Texas by reporter Brian Bethel. After his initial report, more quote-unquote sightings began coming out, some even much older than Brian's, but Brian's is the first ever documented one. Anyways, black-eyed kids are creatures that resemble children and teenagers with pale skin and black eyes, who are seen knocking on people's car window, who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or begging, or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes, or seen knocking on people's car window when they are in the car. People have speculated that they are vampires. Some say that they are young men in black, due to some sightings of the BEKs also having men in black encounters right after. Some also say that they are human/alien hybrids. I don't really know what they are, but in my opinion, I think they fall more in line into young men in black. They're also very interesting. Also, Mexican Monsters, The Cryptids and Legendary Creatures of Mexico by Robert Pito claims that there was at least 11 sightings in Sinaloa, the most sightings of a Mexican state according to the book. Even though it doesn't talk about any of the encounters, they do however talk about encounters in different Mexican states. So yeah, according to that book, the black-eyed kids are seen in different states in Mexico, but I really couldn't find anything else besides the werewolf, which is in another state. So yeah. Sonora. Werewolves. One of these werewolves is located in Los Estrellos mines, which are now abandoned mines that is said to be the home of a demon or a werewolf, depending on which story you're being told / retelling. The demon will rip anyone who enters in its territory, aka the mine. Others do describe it that it's not a demon but a werewolf that lives in the mine, but the result is the same. If they trespass into the mines, the werewolf or demon will tear you apart. There's a story that when the mine was still in operation, 2 miners went in to investigate mysterious growling coming from deep in the mine, and several hours later, both their mutilated bodies were found. There's like another werewolf in Sonora, which isn't related to the werewolf in the mine, but in Hermosillo, Sonora, there's also another werewolf type creature, but this one is a woman. She is known as La Mujer Lobo. She has apparently terrorized Hermosillo since the 80s, and it's said that she will transform to a wolf during the nights, and she would attack passersby on the street. Tabasco, cave cow. Okay, I might be cheating with this entry, but these creatures are seen in the Yucatan Peninsula. A good chunk of them are in Belize, which is not part of Mexico, but is still part of the Yucatan Peninsula. Tabasco is also part of the Yucatan Peninsula, so yeah, let me catch a break here. It is described as a hairy animal, the shape of a lizard, and it might be a living ground sloth. They are covered in hair and about 10 feet long, which according to their name, they live in caves. They have shaggy black hair and a white mane. The cryptid is involved in an alleged attack. The cryptid's alleged attack was so powerful that it's capable of shaking a large cajon palm and had 3 large claws. The most recent sighting was in 2015. A pair of tourists honeymooning in Belize wrote to Phantoms and Monsters in 2015, claiming to have had a near encounter with what their guide called a cow near Junantunich. They never saw the animal, only small trees were being pushed about as the thing moved through the thick vegetation, but estimated that it must have been very large. Tamaulipas, La Niña Perro. This entry is more about of a video of something that looks like a girl that is walking pretty fast on all 4 limbs, and it happened in Tamaulipas, Mexico. I'll play the video and hopefully we don't get demonetized by it. Some people think that it's a disabled person running, or that it's fake, or it could also be a Nahual, which, I mean, hopefully this isn't cheating, but yeah. Specific cryptid here instead of like overarching cryptid, you know? Tlaxcala, Tlahuepuchi. This legend has a pre-Hispanic origin. In Tlaxcala, these creatures are called Tlatespuchis, which in the Nahuatl language means luminous incense burner. The Tualtepuchis were originally a species of Nahual that have the ability to become animals and commit atrocities. They're related to witches. I mean, I've talked about Nahual already in the video, so hopefully you remember. Tahualepuchis are ordinary women in the sight of everyone to whom the gods have been granted a gift that some use maliciously. They learn that they are carriers of this gift when they reach puberty, specifically when they have their first menstruation. That's when they come in contact with the potential of their powers. Over time and practice, they will be able to develop them completely until finally mastering the technique of becoming animals. It is said that once they manage to take the form of an animal, a luminosity emerges from them that warns of its presence. Even today, you can hear testimonies of many people who say that they have seen those lights move away and or approaching them. So yeah, Tualtepuchi is, I mean, just female Nahuales from what I understood when researching. So yeah, Nahuales could be both male and female, but this is specifically female. Veracruz, unidentified Gulf of Mexico oil rig invertebrates. So I might be cheating again, sorry. These were seen on the Gulf of Mexico, and Veracruz's coast is the Gulf of Mexico, so I'm counting it, sorry, not sorry, back on an internet message board around the year 2000. The message board's actual name etc. remains a mystery / lost to time. An anonymous user described the encounters his friend, George Hale, had while working in the Gulf of Mexico during the 1970s. The user's post was this: I used to have a friend who was at one time an undersea welder for Gulf Oil in the 70s and did work on oil rigs way out in the Gulf of Mexico. He gave it up because he was seeing things down there that were beyond his ability to comprehend and even describe. He wasn't the only one. At one oil rig, the welding crew were getting used to seeing the giant needle, this giant headless glowing living fire hose that would zoom in from out of nowhere at incredible NASCAR speeds and would keep on zooming past the welders for up to 15 minutes. My friend then said he finally saw what 8 giant headless glowing living fire hoses one scary day and caught the first helicopter back to shore. He never saw the ocean ever again and was thankful. My friend George Hale wasn't able to describe the predator in detail. It was too big and too close to him. It was as big as him as you are to an ant. As a matter of fact, he had to ascend PDQ because he was in fear of being crushed like a bug, but the predator was of paler skin and texture, like a sea anemone, and it might have been built along the lines of a starfish or freshwater pond hydra, and it was eating the fire hose entity by swallowing it. Its method of propulsion is a mystery. Some people theorize that it was either a big sea slop or a siphonophore, which Omar did a lot of research for siphonophore very early on into Horror Highway's life when we were a podcast on the Black Carpet episode, I'm pretty sure. But those aren't as fast as what was described in the text. Some think it might have been a giant starfish. Others think it could have been hallucinations caused by oxygen shortage or intense pressure, but I really don't know. Yucatan. Huay Chivo. Huay is a Yucatec Mayan word of brujo, which translates to sorcerer, and chivo means goat in Spanish. The Huay Chivo is said to roam in the southern parts of Mexico, and the Yucatan, Campeche, Quintana Roo, and the northern part of Guatemala. As stated earlier, the Huay Chivo is a sorcerer, so he knows how to shapeshift to hide himself and can turn into other animals, but his form is that of a half man, half goat, with glowing red eyes that are known to make people sick if they stare at them for too long. The Huay Chivo is no taller than 6 feet and no smaller than 4, said to stand on goat legs, have the chest torso of a man and the head of a goat, and is known to eat farm animals or take them away to perform dark rituals. One way to know that if he's nearby is the rotten smell that follows him, as well as the cold air he brings wherever he goes. The origin of the Huay Chivo isn't exactly known, but there are 2. One is of a young man who was able to heal people using the nature that surrounds him, and he would gather the knowledge of healing to become a Huay, and soon this man would fall in love with a woman who cared for his family's goat. He was so in love with the woman, he made a deal with the Maya god of death, Kisin, to become a goat to get closer to her. Why the fuck would he do that, bro? But instead, he only became half a goat and lost his soul to Kisin, and now he roams the villages at night. The other origin story is of a man in the Yucatan who worked and was smart, but of lower social standing, but the girl he loves was of a higher one, and so he tried to be with her. The woman's father forbade due to the young man being of lower social standing. Enraged at hearing this, he ran into the forest, cursing. So the devil found him and offered him a deal to allow the man to forever be with the woman in exchange for his soul. The devil agreed, turning the man into a goat and telling him that he would get close to her, but halfway through the process, the man screamed. This wasn't what he wanted, but the devil didn't care and said what's done is done and stopped him from fully being a goat. So now he's a half goat, half man. Now in a rage at what he became, he only goes out at night killing farm animals and bring evil wherever he goes. Zacatecas. Skyfish. Very similar to the rod video I showed earlier, but this one is in the sky and a lot more info for it instead of the video. In May of 2016, Alberto Ignacio Alejo Ibarra captured a peculiar sight in the skies over his hometown of Guadalajara, Mexico. yikes, bro. Different state. Oh well. I'll get to the part of Zacatecas later. Using his phone's camera, he recorded a mysterious translucent object with a long tail, seemingly swimming through the air above Jalisco. The object moved lazily across the sky, resembling a manta ray or a fish with an elongated tail. The footage only lasts several minutes and has drawn significant attention and analysis. Skeptics argue that the anomaly closely resembles a blue plastic grocery bag caught in wind currents. Others suggest that it could be remnants of a weather balloon descending to Earth, or even a blue, heart-shaped balloon with a thick ribbon trailing behind it. Investigators in the paranormal and cryptozoologist field think that Alberto's videos shows a previously unclassified group of creatures called skyfish, to include what has been termed rods in Spanish. Los rods suggest quick, flying, nearly invisible creatures that live in the far reaches in the stratosphere. Again, similar to the rod in the previous entry, but these are in the sky, or it could be the same thing. It's just a very, very rare sighting of one being on the ground. I say very rare because, I mean, I assume the creatures themselves are rare, and then having one on the ground would be very rare. The earliest known recorded sighting of what might have been considered a skyfish was made by Jose Bonilla, an astronomer at the Cerro de la Bufa Observatory overlooking the city of Zacatecas. On August 12, 1883, while photographing sunspots, Bonilla observed nearly 300 unidentified objects crossing the sun. Using web plates with exposure time on 1/100 of a second, he captured these mysterious objects in a series of photographs. This event is now regarded as the first documented UFO sighting in modern Mexican history. Bonilla noted the irregular movements of the objects, which fueled his curiosity. However, when the photographs were made public, skeptics dismissed the phenomenon as nothing more than high-flying geese. So yeah, I might be cheating with this entry too, considering the first ever one in Zacatecas is considered a UFO sighting, but I mean, some people think aliens are cryptids, so I guess I believe that too because they're in the video. Hey, what's up guys, it's Aris, one half of the Horror Highway. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I'm extremely late to the trend, probably like 2 to 3 months late, but I wanted to make this video anyways because no one really does this on Mexico. They usually just do it on the United States. If you guys enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe. I think I said that already. If you guys made it this far, please comment glue in the comment section, just so I know if you guys made it this far. What else should I say? Oh yeah, research for this video was extremely hard. I know I said that a lot throughout the video, but you guys just don't get it. I don't want me to say that like in a condescending way, but there were points where I would search one state, search for hours, not find anything, and if I did find something, it was one I already did. So then I would go back to that state, find another cryptid for that state, move that cryptid into a different state, and keep doing that for probably like 10, 15 of them. And then at some points I would also search for one state for 1 or 2 hours just to find one single thing. I guess you could say I dove deep for this video. Took me a while, but I guess we got there. So yeah, let me see, what else? Thought came to my mind, if you guys want me to make a similar video, but like with ghosts or like urban legends from Mexico, I wouldn't be opposed. Those should be a lot easier because I feel like, especially after this video, Mexico is a much more of a spiritual place as opposed to cryptozoology, science, whatever you call that. So yeah, have a good day. Bye.